Minister, I'm sure you're aware of the higher prices being charged in the tourism and hospitality sector over the last recent years. The increasing costs of operating a business in the industry ultimately mean that the customer has to pay more for the goods and services. Now, at the moment, Chair, the government are playing a three-card trick on businesses. On one hand, you provide grants to businesses to help them offset the rising costs. But on the other hand, it's the government who are responsible for raising those costs in the first place. Every transaction in our tourism and hospitality sector is made at least 13.5% more expensive by this government. Can you tell me, Minister, what considerations you're giving to the reinstatement of the 9% VAT rate? And if you can tell us, please.
Thanks very much, Deputy Murphy. As you're aware, the 9% VAT rate was applied on a temporary basis to the hospitality and tourism sectors until the 31st of August 2023, when it reverted to the 13.5% rate. The 9% rate was introduced on the 1st of November 2020 in recognition of the fact that the tourism and hospitality sectors were among those most impacted by the public health restrictions put in place throughout the pandemic. The economic rationale for a VAT rate reduction at that time, as it was in 2011 when it was also reduced to 9%, was to lower consumer prices, encouraging higher demand, more output and an increase in employment. Despite facing successive headwinds over recent years, the domestic economy has proven to be remarkably resilient. Looking ahead, as inflation eases, the real disposable income of households should recover and support consumer spending. As a result, households are on a stronger financial footing, and this will support demand for contact-intensive services, including the tourism and hospitality sectors. In relation to employment, between the end of 20, when the 9% rate was reintroduced, and the final quarter of 2023, total economy-wide employment expanded from 2.3 million to reach a record high of 2.7 million, an increase of over 17%. The Q4 23 labour force survey indicated that employment in the accommodation and food service sector stood at 183,000. It is important to remember that VAT reductions, even temporary VAT reductions, have a cost to the Exchequer. The estimated cost of the 9% VAT rate for tourism and hospitality from the 1st November 20 to the 31st of August 23 was €1.2 billion. This represented a very substantial support by the government to hospitality and tourism sectors. The cost for further VAT reduction to 9% for a full year is estimated to be €764 million. Even when the measure is restricted to food and catering services, the cost is €545 million. In making any decision in relation to VAT rates or other taxation measures, the government must balance the cost of the measures in question against their impact in the overall budgetary framework. Finally, the Deputy should note that any decisions about VAT rates for this area is a matter for consideration as part of the Budget 2025 process.
Part of the budget consideration, because you've just accused Deputy Doherty, Minister, of being Eurosceptic, and I would feel that maybe you are yourself, given that the VAT rate that is 9% here in other European countries, and most actually major European cities, the VAT rate for hospitality is lower. France and Germany, it's only 7%. Destinations such as Portugal and Greece, Portugal 6%, Greece 6.5%, Spain and Italy 10%, and yet we persist with 13.5%. I got an email from a very reputable operator in the hospitality sector in Rosslare, a concerned business owner who says that your increases have cost his business alone $1 million a year. And those increases, apart from anything at the VAT rate, include a 12% increase in the minimum wage, changes in parental leave, an extra bank holiday, higher PRSI, statutory sick leave, and all of which have served to increase his wage bill. On top of that, as of yesterday, we now have auto-enrolment for pensions, and the further cost burden he experiences a 15% rise in food costs. I think, Minister, to be fair, waiting till the finance or waiting till the budget is going to mean it's late, too late for so many. Over 200 restaurants have already closed in recent months.
Thanks. So just to give some context, the VAT rate for hospitality in Ireland compares favourably to our nearest neighbour, as Britain and Northern Ireland maintain a 20% VAT rate for the sector. And across the whole of the EU, Ireland is one of 14 countries with a rate at 12% or higher for hospitality. And accommodation, Ireland is one of 7 member states that have a rate at 12% or higher. And the government has provided significant support to business throughout the period of increasing costs. and Budget 24 contained a number of measures which will support businesses facing increased costs, including the increased cost of business grant, which aims to provide financial support to small and medium-sized businesses who operate from a rateable premises at a cost of 257 million. In addition, there's been other measures outlined by my colleague, Minister for Enterprise, Peter Burke, including the increasing the employer PRSI threshold from €441 to €496 with effect from the 1st of October. This will ensure that employers with employees earning the weekly equivalent of the national minimum wage will pay the lower rate of employer PRSI rate of 8.8%. The measures also include launching a second phase of the ICOB scheme targeted at businesses in the retail, hospitality sectors, and the doubling of the innovation grant scheme from €5,000 to €10,000. So look, we have provided other supports for businesses through the year, and as I've said, we haven't made any decisions relating to Budget 25 yet.
And with due respect, Minister, clearly everything I outlined in my first part of this session was that those business supports are only able to counteract the rising costs. They're not actually assisting the businesses. The businesses are going bust, for the want of a better expression, simply because we don't have people with high-end jobs able to have residual income to go out and spend on a night out because of your increase in the VAT. It's anti-competitive. All over Europe, we're seeing lower rates, regardless of the 14 countries that you mentioned. Some of our main destinations, France, Italy and Spain, have much lower rates, and we're trying to compete as a country. We don't have the weather, and albeit that I do come from the sunny southeast, we haven't had very much sunshine. And I think businesses are very, very concerned, as are their employees. And I'm one of them, and I do believe that, unfortunately, waiting for this measure, we've asked for it before as a group, I've asked for it independently, but waiting till the budget, it's going to be too late for many. And that will rest strictly with what has happened in your term as Finance Minister. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And look, we'll obviously engage with the business community, but it's important, we're in a different context now to say as well, during COVID, and during the very difficult high levels of inflation that we experienced in our economy. And we are entering into a more regular budgetary environment, and we'll set out more of that in the summer economic statement next week. But we expect, with inflation easing, that the domestic economy and the real disposable income of households should strengthen and improve through the year, which will actually help retailers and help the hospitality sector through the year. And I think that will make a difference as well. Separately, there's a lot of work that my colleague Minister Burke is doing in terms of the cost of running business and the supports that we've outlined as I referenced earlier on. And we will also, as I said, as part of Budget 2025, we'll engage with everybody. But it's important to say we are entering a different budgetary framework than we've had for the last 4 years. And we have to make sure we're careful. We've risks in the economy as well, and we can't continue to have temporary interventions repeatedly on ongoing years. We have to enter a more regular position to plan for the medium to long term.